Can't you hear the sound that's in the air? It's rock and roll. 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 It's rock and roll.
And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story. Real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
And welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. I'm Rich Rosso, CFP, here with Jonathan McCarty, CFP and associated credentials.
Etc.
Yeah. Good morning to the chat. I have noticed Larry Smith and Ed Gein are both off the chat, which thank you, Ed. If I think you've done what I think you've done, we owe you. Matter of fact, the Ed Gein story is going to be on Netflix. You all should check that out. So Ed's going to be a star, as well as being on our YouTube chat. You can join the YouTube chat with Ed. Don't tick him off, because you may just disappear. But make sure that you sign in on our chat, listen on the radio. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. So stock futures, little change this morning. We are waiting for the January big job report, right? So the only issue we had was Amazon law is, I don't know, it's off a little shade, about roughly 3% in the pre-market. So that guidance really disappointed investors. So they're looking at revenue growth of 5 to 9% in the first quarter. So that's the weakest growth on record for Amazon. So, I think what it's telling us, Jonathan, is for the most part, consumers are sort of tapped out.
Yeah. I mean,
look at the personal savings rate. Look at credit card balances. People feeling good. They're still spending. I think because they feel comfortable in their jobs. There's been this positive animal spirits. But for the most part, it's a different situation than when we sent all those checks to households, right?
Yes.
And this is where I also think you got to really be careful. And I've been telling clients this, and I'm sure you have, Jonathan. The headline risk, the clickbait is at an all-time frenzy. Tariffs are going to kill us. There's inflation, more inflation coming. when we were sending checks to household, we were told that it was transitory for inflation, or we didn't have any inflation at all. So we were even gaslit for a period of time that was just a figment of our imagination. But think about if you would have issued tariffs at a time when people were cash rich. They were sitting at home. They built up their checking accounts. I think the personal savings rate went up to like 13% or something along those lines because people just couldn't at all spend, right?
Couldn't go anywhere.
Couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
And getting checks. So, if your washing machine, and I don't think it's going to do this, but if your washing machine went up $50 and I had the cash, I'm not really going to worry about it. But today, you will have to realize that substitution of products or services is in effect. In other words, what might be deflationary for the item that is suffering, that is gotten the tariffs, right? In other words, I don't have the same level of cash. I am very sensitive to price levels right now.
Right.
So I'm not going to just spend the money. I may find a substitution good. I might wait. So overall, we have written about this. Mike Leibowitz has written about this. This whole talk about the tariffs being inflationary is just fear-mongering. So what you got to be careful of is with all that stuff that's out there and all the frenzy and the frenetics and, stuff I have never witnessed, frankly. You got to make sure you don't take it out on your portfolio, that you're not falling for if you're reading the clickbait, read it for entertainment.
Yeah.
But don't be taking some of this stuff at its word. Do your homework. Thankfully, you have us. We do the homework. You go to Real Investment Advice. We're writing about all this stuff to show you what's real and what isn't real, just based on macroeconomic conditions. And most important, I think, Jonathan, the bond market is showing us, when you look at intermediate and long-term yields, that these tariffs are not going to be inflationary.
Right.
And I just noticed that, if you've got some form of presidential derangement syndrome, then it's inflation everywhere.
And the sky is falling.
Yeah, all right. And tariffs are going to be the end of the world. And again, we just look at it for what it is. If we thought the tariffs were inflationary, we're going to put it out there. Here's the data that supports it. So you got to do your homework. That's the most important. Oh, Larry is back on the chat. I'm sort of disappointed in you, Ed. Did he escape? Oh, my goodness, he escaped. How did he do that? I can't remember how he did that. So Amazon's going to lose a little bit. So I think Amazon is a good barometer for overall spending. So we have the January jobs report coming out, obviously 7:30 Central. We're looking at non-farm payroll growth of roughly 169,000 for the month, which is lower than the 256,000 jobs added in December, and the unemployment rate is expected to be 4.1%. So what I have noticed, which I think is positive overall for markets, is during the mornings we're pretty squishy and weak. Futures come out weak. But then toward the end of the day, something magical happens. Well, first of all, it's good that when Lance isn't on Fox Business, because that's usually when the market turns negative. I'm telling you.
He's a harbinger.
It's like the crows come in with him, It's... I don't understand it. Yeah, it's like the ominous... as soon as he starts talking, the future, everything falls. I'm like, what are you doing, man? So, but this late day buying is very, very positive for markets because usually the old adage is those are institutions coming in, right? You have weaker players in the morning, stronger players in the evening. Thus, that's where we are. So we are on track to finish this week with pretty modest gains. S&P on track for a 0.7 advance. NASDAQ tracking for 0.8. Dow is lagging a little bit, but what I find very cool, I will tell you about where this year is starting up. The breadth of the move in stocks. It's not just the Magnificent Seven anymore.
Right.
And bonds are working, right? Bonds are doing what they're supposed to do. So I think it's very, very important compared to what we saw last year, especially in the beginning of the year, that we're getting this broader representation across the board. And when we do have volatility, bonds are doing exactly what we hold them to do. When everything is correlated positively and going in the same direction, to some degree, we have a problem. When we can get some of that diversification actually work, you could take a breath.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to worry about it as much.
Smooth out that volatility.
Right. So watch the bond market. They're saying this isn't inflationary. Now, I have said this on the show before. I said it in November. I said it in December. I probably even said it in October. Any president coming in, regardless of party, is going to have a very tough time lowering the actual price level of what you are paying at the stores right now.
Yep.
If that could be done, great. But I worried that people were going to start looking at their prices now and go, wait, bread's still the same price. And it's going to be very, very difficult. Those price levels are very sticky. Unless we go into a recessionary period, then we'll get disinflation or deflation, which we don't want. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the no-buy challenge. Can you stop buying stuff, Larry Smith? Those magazines, when you walk into the store, they got that cover on it so you can't see it. They got the block on it.
What stores are you going into, Rich?
I'm not saying. We'll be right back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
If you thought retirement income was just stocks and bonds, let us help you understand how to rethink your approach. Our first Candid Coffee of 2025 has everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Saturday, February 8th with Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff. What else is there besides stocks and bonds? Is your retirement paycheck really diversified? Everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
Will you be turning 65 in 2025? Happy birthday! But there's a Medicare special enrollment period in your future. Understanding Medicare choices, enrollment deadlines, and costs are essential to your overall standard of living in retirement. The wrong choices can cost you thousands in penalties. Make sense of Medicare's alphabet soup with RIA Advisors online resources and one-on-one partners to help secure the healthcare insurance choice that is right for your lifestyle and budget and avoid those gaps in coverage. Click on the insurance tab at realinvestmentadvice.com today. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors. 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
So Larry on the chat goes, I can go to a bar and order a steak for $5. Tastes better than a $40 steak at a 5-star restaurant. And by the way, a steak is not $40 at a 5-star restaurant. Yeah, newsflash. Also, I would worry, Larry, there's probably no strays in the area of that bar. So would wonder about that overall. So tomorrow, we are going to have our first Candid Coffee of the year. Retirement income. Everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. So you know what I think is cool about this, Jonathan? So I put together a presentation we'll be doing down the road, just about how to rethink it, right? Because that is the lifeblood of retirement, right?
That's right.
I want growth, but man, I need cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. But there are creative ways to do it. Some ways you may like, some ways you may not like. And also, if you are an individual or a family that is pulling your retirement paycheck primarily from stocks and bonds, you understand that you have to be more diligent with monitoring those withdrawals. That whole talk about taking a fixed rate of withdrawal from variable assets never really made much sense.
The 4% rule.
The 4%
Yeah.
rule. And there's nothing wrong with taking 4%, but these rules of thumb for every household can be troublesome.
Right.
And you need to understand that. So tomorrow you can still register 8 to 9 in the morning before you get your station. Ed, before you sharpen your blades. You can sign. It is a live stream webinar through StreamYard.com. StreamYard is great service, real easy to use. We take your questions. I think I heard Danny talk about this on Wednesday, but when we first created Candid Coffee, it was during COVID because people were just frustrated. They couldn't talk to anybody. We wanted to create this kitchen table kind of, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about everything. At the time it was all kinds of stuff.
Right.
We would get like 200, 300 people on this thing, right? So we wanted to go back to the fact that we want to make sure that your questions are answered in a way from an academic perspective, from a fiduciary perspective, right? We're not looking to try to sell you anything. We just want to help you understand how to do it.
That's right.
And what our clients experience. So overall. So who is Candy Coffee again? That would have been a great CB radio title. Hey,
Good Trevor
Hi,
handle.
this is Candy Coffee. Over. Can I get something to talk? Hello? Anybody out there? Can you give me a traffic report on the flip-flop?
So that's Flo from the show Alice.
Kiss my grits.
So this is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this Candid Coffee. I think this is going to be really great.
I'll be in
Overall.
attendance.
Yeah, you will?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Taking notes from the great Rosso and Ratliff?
Oh.
Absolutely.
Well, Ratliff,
Yeah.
Ratliff is so good. When you get a Smith coffee, cough drop box, he's on it. Take a look. Take a look at that dude. They're descendants. Overall. So we are also going to have more Candid Coffees in the future, more webinars, and we're going to be talking about the WEP and the GPO on Social Security. So this is the windfall elimination provision, right? And the government pension offsets.
Yep.
So this is gone, which means that you're going to be able to get paid by Social Security. If you were a teacher, you were a municipal worker.
Yep.
There's about, I think, 3 million people who were affected by this WEP GPO. So everybody asks first, when we talk about the Social Security Fairness Act, it's always, gosh, what will it do to the trust fund? And it does, it does weaken it. It does wobble it a bit, maybe by 6 months, because there's not as many people affected. This is why I don't think President Trump's initiative to remove taxation on Social Security is really going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be there. And if anything, I think you'd have to means test it, because most of the people that are taking Social Security, I say over 50%, they're probably, based on the limitations, they're probably not paying that much in tax on their Social Security.
Right.
So it's really the higher wage earners that are paying the taxes, right? And you may want to means test that to some degree, because again, it's just, I don't agree with it, but I also worry about the viability of Social Security and how many people need it. So,
Right.
it's a double-edged sword. If we can firm up Social Security and then do it, I think that might be, or at least that's in the calculations. I don't find anything wrong with that. But here's the problem. I have clients that have had heartache with Social Security Administration. Wrong information. Can't get anybody on the phone. I have clients who have signed up for appointments and went, and there's nobody there.
Wow.
I mean, this is before any gutting of any federal agency. I'm talking, this has been an issue since COVID. the quality of the advice that I am seeing coming out of this administration for Social Security is disgraceful.
Yeah.
I have to unwind, I'd say, at least 70% of the advice that clients are getting from the Social Security Administration.
Well, and not to discount, the SSA, but the caliber of advice you're getting is probably also reflective of the caliber of the employees working there. And we all know that the government doesn't pay very well. So, what's attracting the best talent? Probably not the government job at the SSA.
My post office smells like Ed Gein's basement. I don't know what is going on at the post office, but it's sort of depressing to walk in there.
Yeah.
I don't like going. So what you have to keep in mind is now there's this retroactive effect to the Fairness Act, right? So people that have been collecting checks might collect checks. I've seen estimates of you're going to be waiting maybe a year. But remember, that's going to count as income. So depending on the size of that check, right, depending upon what Medicare surcharge, what IRMA charge,
right,
there could be a ripple effect for the money that's coming back into the household.
That's
I
right.
think people will be okay with the money coming into the household. So here's what I thought. They should probably use SSA-44 to add that. There's like few instances where you can say, hey, don't increase my IRMA. I just retired. I got a big paycheck. I got severance. That's all gone now. I wonder if they should actually just that exception rule to include the Social Security Fairness Act.
Yep.
So you don't get taxed on it.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
I don't think they're going to do it.
No.
I got to stop looking at the chat. All right. So when you are taxed on Social Security, it's an onerous formula. It's called the provisional income formula. So, Jonathan, what this diabolical Frankenstein monsterish kind of thing, what's involved in that? Because when people think of income, they think of their working or even maybe IRA distributions. But what else is included in this
Well,
evil formula?
You have a portion of your Social Security that's included in that.
What?
Obviously, also dividends and interest coming into that. I believe they even add back municipal interest for the calculation.
They do.
Right? And also, if you're someone who receives qualified dividends as well, the taxation of those comes into play. So it's pretty comprehensive.
What's not in it?
Nothing I can think of, Rich.
Roth
distributions. Roth distributions, yeah, that's a good one.
Right? If I'm doing policy loans off my life insurance, that's also not part of it.
Yep.
But imagine that in this income formula, I'm including half my Social Security and tax-free, federally tax-free income that I may get from municipal bonds is going back in there. So, in other words, we're trying our very best. We're actually pulling a groin muscle to make sure you pay. That's how far out on the curve we're going, right? Yeah. So you have to be aware of that. So when you start receiving these checks, then they have to go into the financial plan, and we have to see if there's going to be a change in your IRMA and how it's going to affect your Social Security.
Yep.
I was thinking that depending upon the checks, I might have to put a separate line item or a separate box into our financial planning software that says payment 1 year, Social Security Fairness Act, however way you want to
account for it. Yep.
But at least it would include an income for that year, and we could see if it's going to affect anybody's numbers, right? This is something you also need to let your tax person know in advance if you're doing tax planning. Again, I don't know when we will actually see this. So here's some examples from an article. Alabama has by far the highest number of affected beneficiaries, 17,564 people having benefits cut from the WEP, and 734,000, people having benefits cut due to the GPO in 2023. That total of 752 affected beneficiaries is more than double the number of affected individuals in California and Texas combined. So 3 million public sector workers are probably going to get a check. So it's not going to have this huge effect on the trust fund or the viability of Social Security. It's just that It might affect your health. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of how much people start to get.
Yeah. And that's going to change, like you said, the taxability of their Social Security. Things like qualified dividend rates. So if you're currently in the 0%, you may bump up to 15, may bump up from 15 to 20.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, income's income. I'm not going to say it's a bad deal. People are going to say, great, I got myself a bonus. You just have to realize it could be a ripple effect on the rest of your financial situation.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, is this show over yet? Oh, going slow today. Come on, keep up the happiness there. Join us on the chat. Sign up, click like, do something. Subscribe. That's what Brent says. We'll be back.
The Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
If you thought retirement income was just stocks and bonds, let us help you understand how to rethink your approach. Our first Candid Coffee of 2025 has everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Saturday, February 8th with Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff. What else is there besides stocks and bonds? Is your retirement paycheck really diversified? Everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
If you're working and looking to retire soon, a Medicare special enrollment period is in your future. Understanding Medicare choices, enrollment deadlines, and costs are essential to your overall standard of living in retirement. The wrong choices can cost you thousands in penalties. Make sense of Medicare's alphabet soup with RIA Advisors online resources and one-on-one partners to help secure the healthcare insurance choice that is right for your lifestyle and budget and avoid gaps in coverage. Click on the insurance tab at realinvestmentadvice.com today. realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
Are you a financial advisor sneaking peeks at our stuff? Instead of trying to do it all yourself, why not just join the team at RIA Advisors? Our full-service organization can provide you with the support, unparalleled research, and tools for managing your clients' money and honoring the fiduciary pledge of putting clients' best interest first. Don't take our word for it. Talk to the advisors that work with us. Want to come win with us? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors, big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
One thing that the consumer confidence measures, is that correct? If I say consumer confidence measures?
Squared.
How many measures can the consumer confidence measure? I don't know.
The Real Investment Show podcast.
Dr. Seuss.
The consumer confidence measures investor sentiment about stocks. That's the highest level on record.
Same show, your schedule.
It's amazing. Consumers are super confident about the stock market.
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
At the same time, they go, my life sucks economically, but the stock market, it's all good.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Hi, Lance Roberts here. If you're like most people, your 401k plan represents the bulk of your retirement assets, and unfortunately for many, managing your 401k plan can be difficult. There's so many choices, so many things to consider. With just a quick email, a couple of questions, you can put RIA Advisors to work for you managing your 401k plan. Just simply click Ask a Question at realinvestmentadvice.com or give us a call at 855-RIA-PLAN. That's realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Now with the new and improved Before the Bell reports and the latest analysis from Lance Roberts and Michael Leibowitz. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
Listen, I would love to have Bill Belichick as a client, and I would have to give him dressing advice. So he's with his gorgeous girlfriend at the honors, and listen, the man's happy. I have no dispersions. Whatever makes you happy, as long as you're not bothering me, I don't care what you do. But you're 70 something years old and you're dating a 24-year-old, get the clothes in order, man.
His style might be a little outdated, but he knows how to accessorize.
Show's over, folks.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yes, based on the looks of her, he has made a wise choice with his polyester tie and polyester jacket and Sansa belt slacks. I bet Brent has some Sansa belts. Wow, look at Brent. He's in sharp. You could teach Bill Belichick. Listen, get with the program, man. Yeah. Checks are in.
Peak fashion right here.
Yeah. No JCPenney's in this room.
That's right.
Walmart. Hey, listen, I went on. So I first started investing in Walmart when the new CEO came in, right? And we own Walmart in our equity portfolios. The website and to order and to deliver, because the guy was very much into tech, the CEO, when he first started. Matter of fact, he bought a company, and why can I not remember the name? But all this company did online was sell detergent and household product, and you would subscribe to buy Tide or whatever it is you needed. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why doesn't Walmart buy this site? This is a perfect site for Walmart, and they did. And then I knew this dude's on the right track.
Yeah,
but it has a very much of an Amazon feel when you buy, on the Walmart side.
Yep.
Although they did try to get me into Walmart Plus, which is their subscription service, and they just decided to sign me up for it, and it was flagged as fraud.
Very nice of them.
Yeah, so that was very nice. That's how they're getting all the...
They even do the same thing as Amazon now, where you can host your own products on Walmart's website. And
I didn't know, really?
Yeah, they have private sellers on Walmart.
Okay.
It's not always through Walmart's actual product line.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Another thing I found interesting is that we are funding $20 million to Iraq for Sesame Street. For Iraqi Sesame Street. So I decided I was going to write a script. When Elmo and Grover, right, they pull Oscar out of that can.
The can explodes.
Right. The can blows up. Trash can bomb. They pull him out, and he's in pieces. And then the count comes up and goes, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces of Oscar all over the floor. That's so bad. I don't know.
We're going to pay for these jokes today, Rich.
I know we are. I know. So, we're talking about buying stuff, and there is this trend, the no buy 2025. And I did an interview about this not too long ago. So it's a trend. So it's out there on Instagram and TikTok, right? It's a big social media thing. Showing off what they bought, but actually showing off what they didn't buy, right? Spend as little or get as little as new stuff as possible. Specific lists of items they won't purchase. I'm not buying anything but essentials. Right? So this for some reason is catching fire. So I was doing this interview, and I know Lance was banging on the fire crowd, right? The people that want to retire early, and I'm like, well, I said one thing you got to keep in mind is at least, and I did an interview about this. At least people are trying to not purchase so much stuff.
Yeah.
But I also equate it to a diet where all I'm going to do is drink pickle juice and eat broccoli for a month. Well, I'm just saying, there's these extreme diets that people go on, and then what happens is they fall off the wagon and they're in worse shape than ever over the long term.
That's right.
There's got to be some form of happy medium to this, but the message, the overall theme that blankets no buy 2025 is, I don't think, a bad idea. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that we reconsider our consumption overall, especially as planners. You know, that's one of the biggest things that we focus on for clients is managing your expenses throughout retirement. And if you can get through a year, you know, I read an article once that a good rule of thumb is if you're considering buying something, would you pay twice the price for it? And if yes, then that's probably something you need to get. And if no, then maybe reevaluate whether it's something that you just want or that you're, you know, adding in as a small amount of additional happiness to your day. But if you have the ability of reining in those expenses, it can make a meaningful difference over the long term in your financial plan.
One of the messages that it relays very well is how empowering it is to live within your means or below your means.
Yeah.
Feels like there's this bubble of protection over you when you don't feel financially vulnerable. You have the bandwidth, say, to buy the bigger home. You have the bandwidth to buy the really nice car. But you lose something in that approach.
Yeah.
You lose a bit of security that you've had before. And I've always felt this way. It was never a big deal for me to have this huge house and all this stuff, right? Because I don't invite people over. I don't like anybody. So I'm like Lance. I mean, I like, oh, hey, Lance, can I come see your house? Lance, hello? Yeah, he hangs up on me. So, and I get it. I absolutely do get it. So to have younger families, so this is an article out of the Wall Street Journal. Rachel Holdsworth, she's a part-time nurse, full-time mom, stay-at-home mom. She comes across these no-buy videos over the holidays. So she has $10,000 in credit card debt. She's 28 years old, and her husband, they wanted to stop living paycheck to paycheck. So she's cutting out some hair treatments, manicures, unnecessary purchases like water bottles. Listen, my girlfriend needs an intervention.
I need a Stanley Cup.
My girlfriend needs an intervention with water bottles. Every time I see her, she's got a new water bottle. When we go to a store, we got to stop to the water bottles, and I don't understand the fascination with a water bottle. I'm having a real issue with it. So Holdsworth goes, we're spending so much less money. It's crazy. It's been very empowering to live within our means.
Yep.
In a month, they paid down $2,000 of their debt through no buy and the side hustles like selling clothes, stuff you don't need. So, I mean, that feeling of, oh my gosh, I am not living paycheck to paycheck. So how many people say, if I have to live, you know, we're sort of like the government. I'll still spend if I could find a way to bring more money in.
Yeah.
Well, what if I could bring the same amount of money in that I'm bringing, but spend less?
Yeah.
And yet I'm not unhappy.
I've got a client who puts it really well. You know, it's not about what you make, it's about what you spend. And if you can control that, it's going to be an easier path.
And your debt levels, right?
Yep.
So those clients, and when we coach younger adults and they have this issue with debt where they won't take on as much debt or they follow our financial guardrails, I don't worry about them as much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't worry that they're worried about, oh, I'm going to retire. I'm like, listen, I cannot teach you the basics. The DNA and you feeling the way you do because you're doing these proper steps. There's no way for us to I wish we could bottle that, but there's no, I was one of those jerks who thought when this personal savings rate went up through to 13% during COVID, I'm like, oh, look at this. Americans finally learned their lesson.
Short-lived.
People are going to be saving more money. They understand the benefit of it because maybe they got laid off and they would have loved to have a cash coffer. And guess what? It got worse.
Well, I think it's also an aspect of the culture. In Asian countries, they have a saying that Americans spend tomorrow's money, and Asians spend yesterday's money, and I think that definitely illustrates our consumer-based culture that has been facilitated over the past 5 decades.
Yeah. Where does China have an issue? Consumption.
Yeah.
Their people just, I don't know what their, spending is 70%, consumption 70% of our GDP. I can't remember what it was, but they've never been able to really move that needle. They've tried. but they're not able to do it. So here's another guy. He's 33 years old. He's a part-time grocery store worker. He's an analyst. He looked at these videos on TikTok in December, and he said, I'm going to examine my finances. So first-time homeowner, he's buying all this stuff. He's decorating and furnishing, and he says, I'm just going to visit these stores less and cut back on overspending on groceries, cancel streaming services. And he goes, I can control how, this is where more people, this really hits home. If I can't control what the stores do, I can control how I spend my money.
That's right.
Now this one is something called Project Pan. So it's similar to No Buy that spurs people to finish all their skincare before buying replacements. And I always thought that's how people did it.
I'd like to send that article to my wife.
You want me to do that? I can do it.
Love you, honey.
Mrs. M, can you take a look at this? This woman had 100 makeup products she purchased and received over the years. Oh my gosh. I can send this to my girlfriend too. We have a problem with makeup. We got a problem with water bottles. And we have a problem with the segment because it's going to end in a second. Well, we'll be right back.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
If you thought retirement income was just stocks and bonds, let us help you understand how to rethink your approach. Our first Candid Coffee of 2025 has everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Saturday, February 8th with Richard Rosso and Danny Ratliff. What else is there besides stocks and bonds? Is your retirement paycheck really diversified? Everything you wanted to know about income in retirement. Candid Coffee with Ratliff and Rosso. Register today at realinvestmentadvice.com. realinvestmentadvice.com.
RIA Advisors Research is the envy of the industry. Our economic insights are featured on advisorperspectives.com, Fox Business, and MarketWatch. RIA provides advisors with marketing and back office support, objective research, and holistic, cutting-edge financial planning tools to meet your clients' needs. Want to join a winning team and be part of a fiduciary culture where you can do your best work? Then why haven't you contacted us yet? Go to our confidential advisor hub at realinvestmentadvice.com. RIA Advisors. Big enough where it matters, agile enough when it counts.
The Real Investment Show.
When it comes to wealth management, most people think of stocks and bonds, but it's like enjoying one layer in a 7-layer cake. At RIA Advisors, we want to make sure you get your cake and eat it too. Social Security, Medicare, creating a tax-friendly retirement paycheck. Perhaps you're saving for college. How about life insurance, guaranteed income solutions, all along with comprehensive planning? At RIA, a holistic approach to your money is our priority. Call us today, 855-RIA-PLAN, or find us online at realinvestmentadvice.com. realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
And welcome back. So before we get started, we had a question from Jeff on the chat about, that, hey, we've paid into both. Can I stop my Social Security? So here's the thing. There are people that will retire and then decide that they've taken Social Security too soon. They don't need it. They want to put the money back to get a higher benefit in the future. So within 12 months, they can pay it back. You can pay it back within 12 months. After that, you're sort of out of luck.
Yep.
Yeah. So send it to us, Jeff. We'll put it to good use. We'll get Brent a Bill Belichick jacket, nice polyester blend from J.C. Penney's or Corvettes. What was your store like, Corvettes in Texas? Did you have Corvettes in Texas?
We didn't have Corvettes in Texas.
Yeah, did you have Kresge? What was it?
We had Kmart.
You had Kmart.
There was a Kresge's.
Kresge's?
Yeah, back in the 60s, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Kmart's.
Kmart's.
Kmart's were okay.
Yeah. Blue light special.
Yep. You were able to get a blue light. That's the only thing they sold. And that's why they went out of business. What am I going to do with this blue light? So
Wasn't Martha Stewart the demise of Kmart?
I think so, yes.
Really?
That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
She killed it?
Yeah, she was a big part of Kmart
They
for
were
a long
carrying
time.
her line,
Yeah.
and then she went to prison.
Oh. So they weren't carrying the prison line.
No.
They were carrying the, Listen,
Stripes were in that year.
Stripes were in that year. Yeah.
Made from volunteer labor.
It's amazing, but what I am shocked by, I went to the Memorial City Mall, and I can't remember the last time I was there. I just think that JCPenney's still around. They're still trying as an anchor store.
New branding. They're going to call it Jacques Penney.
Yeah. Really? That's what they're doing.
Jacques Penney.
Increases the allure.
Lots
so the other
of
thing
French
noticed,
products.
Malls, to some degree, are making somewhat of a comeback. Depending on the mall, there is more mall traffic. I was reading some of the REIT reports than we've seen in a decade.
Really?
That's impressive.
And when I went to Memorial City Mall on a Saturday, and I couldn't find a parking space. And I'm like, this is not what I remember. So it's the type of mall, right? And where the mall, I mean, it's always location,
Right.
but what they place into the mall. But they're saying that malls are actually making a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, one of my first jobs was in a mall. I still remember that smell when you walk into the mall. They all have that same very awkward smell. You're like, okay, I remember this.
Jeff goes, he suggests to his management if they could have us stop paying Social Security as an institution. Now, if I were drinking coffee right now, I would be spitting it out all over the place. No, you cannot avoid paying Social Security as an institution. No, that's not going to work.
No.
My dad tried to do that, and we had IRS agents chasing us for years. They showed up at his funeral wondering if he was really dead.
Just making
based
sure.
on how much he didn't pay in for his workers. So the thing is, like you said earlier, we are a consumption-driven society.
Yeah.
We are also addicted to cheap, which has allowed China to take over our goods and services, right? And we don't want to make toasters. I get that. But there was a lot of ingenuity, and there were a lot of great products that we had made in the United States.
Yeah.
In the 60s, my grandmother owned it was like a candy store. But you could sit at the counter in Brooklyn and get a malted, whatever. And then she closed it after a few years because my grandfather was so lazy he wouldn't help her run it. So he just liked to sit in his chair and watch Westerns, which I admire.
Gunsmoke.
Yeah. So I'll never forget, in her basement in a house in Brooklyn, she had the what's the blender, the mixer, kitchenware,
KitchenAid.
KitchenAid.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, I tried to pick this thing up. It
Probably
was
weighed more than you did.
It was all. I mean, I have never seen anything since.
Yeah.
This stuff, she had the cutters for the deli meat and all that. This stuff.
That's the most massive kitchen equipment you can get is KitchenAid.
I mean, I understand it's still held in high esteem to some degree, but I just remember when I look at KitchenAid today and what my grandmother had in the 70s, I could not believe the durability and the thickness, of what this was made in the United States.
Well, U.S. companies used to build products for life. It used to be built for life. Think
Then we
Singer
decided-
sewing machines.
Right.
Great example.
Right.
My aunt and uncle opened an insurance firm down in South Houston back in the 60s. The cold spot refrigerator that they had in the back of their office is still running in that office today. My cousin is running the agency. Aunt and uncle have passed away. That cold spot refrigerator is still cranking.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's the lead lining.
Yeah. I think Jeff, again, he's clarifying. He says, we pay full into TRS like all other school districts. So a school district is not going to pay into the... I mean, nothing's changing on that part of the structure. Like, nothing is changing on that side of it. It's the key is if you worked in the private sector and in the public sector, we had to do this equation because the government always thought, well, you're making more money than ever. My always thought was, well, I paid into both.
Yeah.
If I paid into both, why shouldn't I get both? I mean, on the surface, that made a lot of sense to me when it comes to Social Security, and say, okay, I'll go work I work as a teacher for 7 years or 8 years, 10 years, whatever, and then I go ahead and I pay into Social Security on the other side. Why am I deprived of spousal benefits and or survivor benefits if I had feet in both sectors? I don't understand that part. So, this is gone. But nothing is going to change into the payment structure of whatever you've done before, you're still going to do.
Yeah.
It's just rectifying a situation on the beneficiary level, the recipient level, based on their work history. That's all it's doing. Now, what it's going to do again is it's going to pull about 6 months away from the trust fund, right? It'll be, well, it's not going to be completely insolvent, but it's going to put that in danger of maybe cutting your benefits by 25%.
Yeah.
Which again, we always say ad nauseum, it doesn't take much to correct it. No party wants to do that.
Right.
Because even in all the stuff that Trump is doing and Musk is doing, as far as, which I don't think is a bad idea, of course, to trim the fat and all that, you've got to find a way to fortify those programs. And I'm not hearing that side of the equation. Matter of fact, I'm not even hearing Democrats who are freaking out about fixing that side. They're only worried about Elon Musk taking your Social Security number.
Right.
Elon Musk, let me just explain, does not need my Social Security number or anything that I have. He's got enough. Okay? The guy or the gal working over there at the federal government building, who's probably got a lot of student loans that they're deferring into infinity, probably needs my data more than Elon Musk does. So I'd rather have him have access to it. That's just my own personal feeling on it. So Larry Smith's off reading off the Social Security Administration. Get a life, Larry. Ed, get to his house, knock on the door, take him for breakfast, and then you know what to do. Hopefully IHOP. So this trend, let's get back on track here. This trend is a reevaluation of habits.
Yep.
This no-buy challenge, right? And what I've noticed is what's great is a lot of Gen Zs, I have noticed, and people are going to laugh because, oh, youngins, they're nothing but trouble. I have noticed some element of Gen Z is very conservative with money.
Well, they grew up with their parents going through multiple financial crises. So, yeah, that has a significant impact.
They're not extravagant spend. Now, they like experiences over stuff. But I have noticed on the Gen Zs, they live smaller.
Yeah.
They don't mind living smaller. They don't want the big house. Yes, would they like a home? Yes. Would they like a house? Sure. But they don't need the 4,000, 5,000 square feet. They're just not finding any thrill in it. They see it as an expense. Frankly, that's what we teach people.
As a stress.
And the stress. They don't want it. I don't see anything. So here's another example. Rebecca Soden, she's 7 years old, commission analyst at an ad tech company. She's breaking down her no-buy list. She lives in California. She has 12 rules written down for her no-buy year. Weekly $85 budget for food, $50 a week for discretionary spending, and it helps her to stick to the budget. Now, a lot of people don't like that word budget, but I have noticed it's more millennials and Gen X's that don't like the word, especially millennials. What's wrong with your generation, millennials? You all disconnected somewhere. I don't know what happened to y'all, but something happened. Gen X and baby boomers, we were feral, okay? We were like at 10 years old, we were thrown out in the street and go, if you don't come back by dinner, we just have an extra plate of food. We'll give it to the dog. Like, we don't care.
Be home by the time the street lights come on.
Yeah, here you go.
Yep.
And if you don't, whatever. If you're locked out of the house, there's the dog house. And we had to fend for ourselves. So we also did budgets in other things because we had money coming in. I mean, I had a paper route at like 12. I had like the biggest paper route in Brooklyn, right? And I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning every morning, eat a dozen donuts because I was sort of overweight, but that's okay. And then go out and take care of my paper. But what I'm saying is, this no-buy challenge, look to take it. Maybe there's one day of the week. I used to call it No-Buy Wednesday on Fox. This is the day you don't buy anything. It just rethink, reevaluate. So are some people going to fail on this because it's too stringent? Sure. But overall, I think the message is good.
I think so as well.
Hopefully Bill Belichick's girlfriend's playing in the Super Bowl because that's the only person I'm interested in seeing.
She'll probably get more screen
into
time.
the end zone. You know what I'm saying. Other than that, Brent loves my jokes. We will be back on Monday. We love you all. Well, not you, Larry, but everybody else.